You are now tuned into Van Leo 13, and this is the post COVID 2020 vision review. So, after 2 years of uncertainty and speculation about is this the end of the world, we are now coming out of what has to be the most monumental period in world history, contemporary world history, that is. You know, we're not going to compare this to the extinction of the dinosaurs. But what we are now witnessing is in my opinion, I think it's a reboot, an installation of a totally different operating system. Definitely, I can see the clear markings of a one world government, and certainly, a single currency that'll probably be, digital cryptocurrency, probably administered through your smartphone. Speaking of the smartphone, so me just looking back to see exactly when did things really take a significant shift prior to 2020. So in my research, I found that Wi-Fi was released to the general public in 1997. And 10 years later, 2007, Apple released the iPhone. And with the releasing of the iPhone, that was a definite watermark as to when things really took a significant change. So in less than 15 years from 2007, in less than 15 years, pretty much the entire US population was, tethered to a smartphone. That's if they were old enough to have one or could afford to purchase one. So from that point on, things have progressed so fast and so far from what the 21st century was like that sometimes it's hard to actually just grasp, like, okay, I was born and raised analog, meaning, during the era of cassette tapes, rotary dial phones, actual vinyl records, no cable TV, no internet, to now where we are, where everything is either streaming or download, and once again, Wi-Fi. And I really believe that the only thing that kind of helped things stay together somewhat during the COVID pandemic was nicotine, caffeine, and Wi-Fi. Being that everybody was pretty much at home, and those three vices is probably what was the glue that held everything together. So as we come out of this, I really can't imagine what it's going to be like 20 years later. Because just to think about 20 years prior, we weren't sending money peer to peer, through a mobile device. There was no social media. There was no smartphone. So I can't even imagine 20 years from now what it will be like. But one thing's for certain, it is not going to be what it is now as we know the world in 2022. So, buckle your seatbelts. I imagine it's going to be a bumpy ride. I mean, we're already seeing it. Gas prices going through the roof. So all of that money that, these big oil conglomerates didn't make during that 2-year span, they're getting all that money back. These oil companies, in my opinion, they run the show as it is right now. And if anything else comes along, they'll just, reboot, and they'll take over that space as well. Just like with the electric vehicles and, the autonomous driving vehicles. So, like I say, buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride. I feel that the only thing that you can really arm yourself with is to, maintain your health. Make sure you're, staying on top of your cardiovascular conditioning, consume enough water, and, periodically you need to do a fast because you're going to have to get these toxins out of your body. If it's anything like, people that are into astrology say about, the age of Aquarius and, whatever, I really can't speak on it. But if we're moving into a totally different age where the frequency of the earth may be such that your physical vehicle has to be in its best condition to deal with any, change in the frequencies. Just if you live in, let's see, if you live in in the temperate zone, which would be, North America, Europe, China. But if you were to go and visit or live in the tropical region, you're going to feel a significant difference. So that's moving from one zone to another. So therefore, if there is any real shift in the frequency of the planet as a whole, your health is your wealth. So if there's going to be anything that you can look forward to preparing yourself, it would be your physical health, as well as your mental fortitude, because I think, a lot of people felt like there was a lot of disinformation, misinformation, speculation, just whatever. So, whatever, faith you subscribe to, you're probably going to need to cling fast to that. Because if you're going to leave it up to, to men and women that have their own personal agendas, you could find yourself being led astray. So one of the movies that is really in my top 5 favorites is The Book of Eli, starring Denzel Washington. And, if you're familiar with this movie, it's post-apocalyptic. And I feel like the 2020, pandemic was, somewhat like that, in that the one thing that was going to really, get somebody through, meaning Denzel's character, was his faith. He just knew what God had told him to do, and he had to just move forward, walking in faith, not by sight. Because even in my own personal life, I've had many times where I'm like, okay, how is this going to work out? And I really had no clue how it was going to work out. I just had to continue moving in that direction, and things would happen. Pretty much, like how Moses was leading the Israelites and they were at the Red Sea. Now imagine if you're standing at the edge of a roaring river that you looking at it and you think, as soon as I step in here, I'm going to get swept down, down the river. But it's almost like you just take that step, that leap of faith, and it just parted. So, I just kind of like to use the analogy of, Denzel's character in, the Book of Eli. You just really have to walk in faith. And somehow, some way, things will work out. So, in review, as they say, 2020 vision is perfect. And looking back, I don't know if it was a pandemic or not, but I do know that plenty of years prior to this, there was talk of, global depopulation and, one world government and a single world currency. So I feel like if there's anything to that, it's starting to show some signs of that, because artificial intelligence is here to stay. It doesn't need oxygen. It doesn't need a lunch break. it can process data faster than any single human being can. And, we're seeing the giants emerge, when it comes to big data. That'd be your Googles, your Facebooks, your Amazons, your, what's the company in China? Alibaba. I think Tencent is, also in that group of, conglomerates that data is their driving force. So let's strap in and buckle up, because it will be an interesting time to see as we move forward. Thanks for tuning in. This is Van Leo 13.